Have you ever felt like your worth has been swept under the rug? Maybe it's a boss who overlooks your efforts, a friend who dismisses your ideas, or a partner who takes you for granted. That sting of being devalued. It's universal, yet deeply personal. It chips away at your confidence, leaving you questioning your place in the world. But here's the good news. You don't have to stay in that shadow. There are simple, powerful strategies you can use to rise above, reclaim your value, and rebuild your sense of self. Let us dive into 6 practical steps that don't just patch the wound. They help you grow stronger from it. Devaluation isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet erosion, a missed thank you, a curt reply, or a pattern of being sidelined. Psychologists often link it to dynamics like narcissistic relationships or workplace burnout, but it's not exclusive to those extremes. It can happen anywhere. A coworker claiming credit for your idea, a loved one brushing off your feelings, or even your own inner voice whispering you're not enough. The result? A dent in your self-esteem that's hard to ignore. Take Sarah, a 32-year-old marketing assistant. For months, she poured her creativity into campaigns, only to watch her manager present them as his own. No nod, no credit, just a casual, good job that felt more like a pat on the head. Or consider James, whose partner dismissed his attempts to plan a special evening, saying, "It's not a big deal." These moments pile up, and before you know it, you're wondering if you matter at all. The truth is, you do. And while you can't force others to see your worth, you can take steps to protect it. Let's explore how. Number 1, pause and reflect. The power of a deep breath. When you feel devalued, your first instinct might be to lash out or shrink inward. Both are human, but neither serves you long term. Instead, hit pause. Take a deep breath and ask, is this real? Or am I reading too much into it? Reflection isn't about overthinking. It's about clarity. Imagine Sarah fuming after another meeting where her ideas were borrowed. She could have stormed out or sulked silently. Instead, she took a walk, replaying the moment. Was her manager intentionally dismissing her, or was he just oblivious? This pause didn't fix the problem, but it gave her perspective. Sometimes devaluation comes from others' carelessness, not malice. Other times, it's your own insecurities amplifying a slight. Either way, stepping back lets you choose your next move wisely. Psychologists call this emotional regulation. Studies, like those from the American Psychological Association, show that pausing to assess emotions reduces impulsive reactions and boosts resilience. It's not about denying the hurt, it's about owning your response. Try this. Next time you feel devalued, grab a notebook, jot down what happened and how it made you feel. Then ask, what's the evidence here? It's a simple trick to separate fact from feeling. Number 2, set boundaries. Drawing your line in the sand. If devaluation keeps happening, it's time to draw a line. Boundaries aren't walls. They're signals of self-respect. They tell others, this is how I expect to be treated, and they don't need to be dramatic to work. For Sarah, this meant a calm, direct chat with her manager. "I'm happy to contribute," she said, "but I'd appreciate it if my ideas were credited." No yelling, no ultimatums, just a clear ask. Her boss blinked, nodded, and while he didn't change overnight, the dynamic shifted. She'd planted a seed. James took a different tack. After his partner brushed off his efforts again, he said, "I'd like us to acknowledge when we put in effort. It matters to me." It wasn't accusatory, it was honest. Boundaries work best when they're firm but kind, inviting respect rather than demanding it. Research backs this up. A 2021 study in the Journal of Social Psychology found that people who set clear interpersonal boundaries report higher self-esteem and less stress. Why? Because you're no longer a doormat, you're a player in the game. Try this. Practice a 1-sentence boundary. Keep it simple. "I'd appreciate it if we could keep this respectful." Say it out loud a few times. It'll feel less awkward when the moment comes. Number 3. Focus on what you control, building your own wins. Here's a hard truth. You can't make others value you, but you can value yourself. And that starts with action. When you feel devalued, shift your energy to what's in your hands. Learn a skill, chase a goal, or dive into a hobby. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving you right. Sarah started a side project, a blog about marketing trends. It wasn't tied to her job, but it reminded her she had talent worth sharing. James, meanwhile, picked up woodworking. Each finished piece, a shelf, a box, became a quiet victory, something no one could dismiss. This isn't just feel-good advice. Behavioral science shows that focusing on controllable outcomes boosts confidence. A 2020 study from Personality and Individual Differences found that people who pursue personal growth after setbacks recover faster emotionally. It's like planting a garden in rocky soil. Tough at first, but the blooms are yours. Try this. Pick one small thing to master this week. Maybe it's cooking a new recipe or sketching a doodle. Celebrate the win, no matter how tiny. It's fuel for your fire. 4. Lean on your people. The strength of a listening ear. Isolation feeds devaluation. When you're hurting, it's easy to pull back, but that's when you need connection most. Talk to someone who gets you. A friend, a sibling, a mentor. They don't need to fix it. They just need to listen. Sarah vented to her best friend over coffee. "I feel invisible," she admitted. Her friend didn't solve it, but she said, "You're brilliant. Don't let them dim that." It was enough to lift the fog. James called his brother, who laughed and said, "You're too good for that nonsense." Simple words, big impact. Social support isn't fluff, it's science. A 2019 meta-analysis in health psychology found that strong social ties buffer against stress and self-doubt. Your people remind you who you are when you forget. Try this. Text someone you trust. "Hey, can we chat? I need a sounding board." Keep it casual. You'd be surprised how eager they are to help. Number 5, reclaim your narrative. Rewriting the script. Devaluation often hands you a script. You're not enough. Don't read it. Write your own. This isn't about delusion. It's about countering the noise with truth. List 3 things you're proud of. Say them out loud. Own them. Sarah scribbled, "I'm creative, I'm reliable, I care." It felt silly at first, but reading it daily shifted something. James wrote, "I'm thoughtful, I'm persistent, I'm me." It wasn't arrogance, it was armor. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, uses this trick. A 2022 study in cognitive therapy and research showed that reframing negative self-talk improves mood and self-worth. You're not just pep talking, you're reprogramming. Try this. Grab a sticky note. Write 3 strengths. Stick it where you'll see it. Your mirror, your desk. Glance at it when the doubt creeps in. Number 6. Walk away when needed. Choosing your peace. Sometimes the best strategy is the exit. If the devaluation's a pattern, unrelenting, one-sided, soul-crushing, don't cling to it. You're not quitting, you're choosing yourself. Sarah started job hunting. It wasn't impulsive. She polished her resume, networked, and landed a role where her voice mattered. James had a tougher call. After months of talks with his partner went nowhere, he moved out. It hurt, but it healed too. Walking away isn't failure. A 2023 report from the American Institute of Stress found that leaving toxic environments, jobs, relationships, cuts stress levels by up to 40%. It's not easy, but it's freedom. Try this. Make a pros and cons list for staying versus leaving. Be honest. If the cons outweigh, start small. Update your LinkedIn. Save some cash. Plan your next step. Beyond these core strategies, there are hidden gems. Ever heard of Strengths Finder? It's a tool from Gallup that pinpoints your top strengths, like creativity or grit. Sarah used it and found strategic thinking on her list. It wasn't just a label, it was a lens to see her value. Free versions like High Five work too. These aren't magic, but they're mirrors for your potential. Or consider this twist. Look for silent appreciation. That coworker who asks your opinion, that's value. The friend who texts just to check in, that's gold. A very well-mined article notes that nonverbal cues, like a hug or an invite, often say "what words, Donesty?" Spotting them reframes the story. These strategies aren't about winning a showdown. They're about reclaiming your space. Reflection keeps you grounded. Boundaries demand respect. Action builds proof of your worth. Support lifts you up. Narrative shifts your lens. And walking away? That's your trump card. Why does it matter? Because you're not here to be a footnote. Devaluation might dent you, but it doesn't define you. Think of it like a scratched record. It skips, but the song's still there. These steps help you play it loud. Take Maria, a teacher who felt invisible in staff meetings. She paused, set boundaries with her principal, and started a passion project, tutoring kids after hours. Her confidence grew, and soon colleagues noticed. Or Alex, whose family belittled his career choice. He leaned on friends, rewrote his self-talk, and eventually distanced himself. Today, he's thriving. Feeling devalued? You're not alone, and you're not stuck. Start small. Maybe it's a 5-minute breather to reflect. Maybe it's a quick chat with a friend. Pick one strategy and test it. See how it fits. The beauty here, these aren't one size fits all. Tweak them. If writing strength feels forced, say them in your head. If walking away isn't an option, double down on boundaries. You're the architect of this rebuild. So what's your next move? The world might not hand you a spotlight, but you can light one yourself. You're worth it. Always have been. Thanks for watching.